One late night in Paris, Driss is chauffeuring his employer, Philippe, through the city streets. Frustrated by the tedious wait in traffic, Driss grows impatient, disregards the speed limit, and weaves recklessly between cars, paying no attention to traffic laws. His antics quickly draw the attention of the police, who begin pursuing him. Confident in his driving skills, Driss bets Philippe €100 that he can evade the cops. However, after briefly losing them under a bridge, the police set up a roadblock and surround the car. Unfazed, Driss raises the stakes, now betting €200 that he can turn the situation around and secure a police escort instead. Stepping out of the car, he puts on a convincing act, feigning indignation and insisting Philippe is paralyzed and in urgent need of hospital care. The ruse gains traction when the police notice a wheelchair in the trunk. Approaching Philippe, they witness him seemingly having convulsions, part of the act. Convinced it's an emergency, the officers overlook Driss's reckless driving and provide an escort to the hospital. To celebrate their success and his winnings, Driss plays September by Earth, Wind and Fire as they enjoy the ride. Once they reach their destination, the two share a quick smoke before Driss drives off just as hospital staff approach. This unlikely friendship between Driss and Philippe began months earlier during caretaker interviews led by Philippe and his assistant Magali. Disheartened by the generic or awkward responses from other candidates, they are caught off guard when Driss barges into the room out of turn. His intention isn't to apply for the job, but to obtain a signature confirming he's been rejected so he can claim unemployment benefits. His blunt attitude and flirtatious remarks toward Magali amuse Philippe rather than irritate him. Intrigued, Philippe asks him to return the next day for his papers. That evening, Driss returns to his modest neighborhood and attempts to take a bath while his younger siblings constantly interrupt him. He only manages to finish thanks to his older sister Mina, who takes on some of the household responsibilities. While waiting for their mother to come home, Driss notices his younger brother Adama stepping out of a suspicious car. When questioned, Adama claims he was at school but grabs a bag and leaves again, further fueling Driss's suspicions. Later, their mother arrives home, and Driss greets her with a stolen Faberge egg as a gift, claiming he's been on vacation during his recent 6-month absence. However, she's unimpressed and furious over his disappearance and neglect of his family responsibilities. Overwhelmed by raising her other children alone, she kicks Driss out of the house, declaring she wants no more of his lies. Driss spends the night hanging out with friends in the neighborhood before returning to Philippe's house the following day. He is greeted by Yvonne, the housekeeper, who gives him a tour of the luxurious home, showing him Philippe's daily routine and even pointing out a room that would be as if he took the job. The sight of a bathtub catches Driss's attention before Yvonne ushers him in to meet Philippe. To his surprise, Philippe not only hands him the signed paper but also offers him a job trial as his caretaker. Driss hesitates but ultimately accepts after being reminded there's a wager. Philippe doubts he'll last more than 2 weeks. After moving into his new accommodations, Driss begins training for his role. He learns how to care for Philippe by stimulating his legs, assisting with bathing and dressing, and transferring him to and from his wheelchair. Though initially reluctant, especially when it comes to intimate tasks like cleaning Philippe after bathroom use, Driss begrudgingly adapts to these responsibilities. One evening while enjoying a quiet moment on the rooftop with some snacks, he's interrupted by Philippe's daughter Elisa and her boyfriend Bastien looking for privacy. Driss promptly sends them packing after refusing to share his beer. Over time, Driss grows accustomed to life with Philippe despite some early missteps. He learns finer details like positioning a phone at Philippe's ear instead of handing it to him or remembering to keep the baby monitor on hand, even during baths, to hear Philippe call out if needed. Additionally, Driss organizes Philippe's mail into folders, carefully avoiding personal correspondence as instructed. However, when he stumbles upon flyers for female escorts, he humorously decides to create a special folder for them rather than disposing of them as suggested. Despite embracing his duties as a caretaker, Driss doesn't let work interfere with living life on his own terms. He continues charming Magali without much luck and occasionally indulges himself by calling escorts for company. One morning, Yvonne enters Driss' room to chastise him for being late but notices some dangerous-looking weapons in his bag. She chooses not to address them for the time being. Driss is tasked with driving Philippe around that day but refuses to put him in the back of a van like cargo. Instead, he opts for one of the flashy cars that's seldom used. Initially, Philippe feels it's impractical, suggesting suggesting they should keep things simple, but he quickly warms up to the idea of a faster and livelier ride, even as Yvonne expresses her disapproval. As they attempt to leave the building, they encounter a neighbor parked obstructively at the entrance, ignoring a clear no parking sign. Driss takes immediate action, confronting the man, grabbing him by the shirt, and intimidating him until he moves the car. Philippe, though impressed by Driss' boldness, notices Yvonne's growing disapproval once again. Later, the two visit a museum where Philippe is interested in purchasing an expensive piece of art. Driss, however, dismisses it as overpriced nonsense, likening it to a mere red blotch on a canvas. The day progresses, and Philippe has a conversation with a relative who expresses concerns about Driss, hinting at his potentially violent tendencies. Philippe has recently discovered that Driss has a criminal record, but it doesn't bother him in the slightest. What he values most about Driss is his straightforward demeanor. He doesn't treat Philippe with pity and isn't afraid to joke around with him. After another unsuccessful attempt to charm Magali, Driss ends up having dinner in the kitchen with Yvonne. Meanwhile, they listen as Philippe dictates a letter to Magali, but Yvonne soon turns off the baby monitor, calling it a private moment. She takes this opportunity to shed some light on Philippe's personal life, revealing that Philippe has been corresponding with a woman named Eleanor. Those are the letters he had stopped Driss from opening earlier. However, she explains that Philippe and Eleanor have never met in person, as their relationship remains strictly epistolary. The topic shifts to love, and Driss teases Yvonne about the attention she seems to get from the gardener before heading off to bed. While trying to fall asleep, Driss is startled by unusual noises coming from the baby monitor. Realizing that Philippe is having difficulty breathing, he battles his instinct to stay put but ultimately rushes to Philippe's aid. Using calming words and a wet cloth to cool his face, Driss helps Philippe through the episode until he finally falls asleep, only for him to wake again soon afterward, yearning for fresh air. Without hesitation this time, Driss bundles Philippe in blankets, wheels him outside, and takes him along the river for some air. It's the first time in years that Philippe has seen Paris at night, and as he begins to relax, he opens up to Driss. He explains that while his medication helps, it isn't always enough to stave off phantom pain. During their stroll, Philippe also confesses that his condition prevents him from physically pleasing a woman. Still, he shares that the sensation of someone massaging his ears brings him an unexpected sense of pleasure. When another wave of phantom pain threatens to hit, Driss decides to share one of his joints with Philippe. At first skeptical, Philippe eventually gives it a try and enjoys it more than he anticipated. After their riverside walk, they stop by a restaurant to share a meal and exchange jokes. It becomes an evening of laughter and lightheartedness as Philippe decides to delve further into his story. He tells Driss about meeting his wife during their university years and how they married shortly after. Their happiness was marred by 5 miscarriages and her subsequent diagnosis with an incurable illness. They eventually adopted Elisa. Discussing his love for thrilling experiences like extreme sports, Philippe recounts that it was during a paragliding accident caused by bad weather that his life changed forever. He crashed and broke his vertebrae. Though confined to a wheelchair since then, he admits that his greatest hardship isn't his physical condition but living without his wife. After reminiscing and sharing more laughs, Philippe realizes that Driss has completed his 1-month trial period and officially offers him the job. But there's one condition. Driss must return the Fabergé egg he took since it was a cherished gift from Philippe's late wife. She gave him one every year of their 25-year marriage. The next day, Driss meets up with Mina as she leaves school. She's upset over the lack of communication from him lately and mentions receiving calls from the police at home. Later, Driss visits Adama, who admits he was caught with drugs on him. Despite Driss's attempt to take Adama out for lunch and catch up properly, Adama refuses and climbs into a suspicious car. During another of Philippe's usual letter dictation sessions to Eleanor, with Magali writing it down, Driss critiques the overly flowery language and suggests a more straightforward approach. He's shocked to learn that after 6 months of letter writing, Philippe has never even exchanged photographs with Eleanor. Finding her number on one of the letters, Driss takes matters into his own hands and calls her, leaving Philippe no choice but to speak to her directly for the first time. That phone conversation goes so well that Philippe can barely put down the phone after that, and keeps talking to Eleanor even as he prepares for an opera outing with Driss. During the performance, Driss struggles not to laugh at the elaborate costumes. The following day, Driss persuades Philippe to finally send Eleanor a photo and chooses one showing him in his wheelchair, a candid portrayal of his current self. However, shortly after, Elisa storms into Driss's room while he's painting, something he'd secretly taken up, and rudely asks for cigarettes while mocking his new hobby. Overcome with anger, he forces her out and heads off to meet Philippe, who is currently asking Yvonne to replace the chosen photograph with one taken before he became quadriplegic. Yvonne quickly hides the rejected photo inside inside the escort file just before Driss bursts into vent about Elisa, urging Philippe to discipline her. Yvonne agrees with Driss, and Philippe promises to speak to her. Amidst the conversation, Philippe is taken aback when Driss accidentally reveals that he's been painting. As days pass, the bond between Philippe and Driss strengthens. Driss brings lively energy into Philippe's life, taking him to play in the snow, letting him accompany him on runs, and even being gifted his first tailored suit by Philippe. Meanwhile, Philippe takes the initiative to have a stern talk with his daughter, which Driss overhears through a baby monitor. When Driss completes his first painting, he shows it to Magali, but his attempt to kiss her earns him a sharp slap. Nevertheless, Philippe admires the painting and promises to sell it. Their friendship continues to flourish as they enjoy thrilling activities together, driving a faster car, sharing occasional joints, and even hiring escorts. As Philippe's birthday approaches, he expresses little excitement, already dreading the predictable routine, a party where he has to mingle with relatives who show up merely to confirm he's still alive. Despite his reluctance, the night sees live classical music being played for the guests. Meanwhile, Driss checks on Elisa, finding her teary-eyed in her room after ingesting Yvonne's pills in a misguided attempt at self-harm. The pills' effect turns out to be harmless. Elisa explains her heartbreak over Bastien calling her vile names and ending their relationship, prompting Driss to promise he'll have a word with Bastien for a price. At the party, Philippe manages to sell Driss' painting to a relative for 11,000 euros. Driss then strikes up a conversation with Yvonne, who reveals that Magali is in a rocky relationship with someone named Fred, sparking new hope for Driss. As the evening winds down, Philippe makes Driss listen to some iconic classical pieces. True to character, Driss responds playfully with jokes. Once the band finishes performing, Driss livens up the mood further by playing Boogie Wonderland by Earth, Wind and Fire on his iPod and showcasing some incredible dance moves. His energy inspires the whole party to join him on the dance floor while Philippe enjoys the spectacle from the sideline. Later that night, while helping Philippe into bed, Driss opens Eleanor's latest letter. Enclosed is her picture. She is quite attractive, and an invitation to meet in Paris the following week. When date day arrives, Yvonne and Driss help Philippe try on numerous outfits before settling on the perfect look. Since Yvonne is accompanying Philippe to his date, Driss uses his day off to confront Bastien. He threatens the boy into apologizing to Elisa, promising to bring her croissants daily and fix his untidy appearance. Subsequently, Driss stops by his mother's workplace but watches her quietly from a distance. Meanwhile, at the restaurant, Yvonne and Philippe await Eleanor's arrival. After an hour of waiting in vain, Philippe loses hope and calls Driss to pick him up. As he leaves with Yvonne, neither notice that Eleanor has just arrived. That evening, Philippe takes Driss aboard his private plane and surprises him by gifting him the proceeds from selling his painting, an act that fills Driss with immense gratitude. The following morning finds them in the countryside, where Philippe decides to go paragliding and insists that Driss join him. Initially resistant and visibly terrified, Driss soon begins enjoying the exhilarating experience. Upon their return home, they find Adama waiting for Driss. Spotting scars on Adama's face, Driss reprimands him but fails to get clear answers about what's troubling him. Leaving Adama in his room, Driss calls Mina to reassure her not to worry before returning to help tuck Philippe into bed. To his surprise, Philippe isn't quite ready for sleep just yet. After showing Driss a painting and sharing a moment of reflection, Philippe steers the conversation towards Driss's family. Initially reluctant, Driss eventually opens up, revealing a complex past. He shares that Adama isn't actually his biological brother, nor are his supposed parents his real ones. They're his aunt and uncle. They brought him over from Senegal when he was 8 because they couldn't have children. His real name is Bakary Baysari, but since many other kids shared the name, they started calling him Idris, which eventually became Driss. Later, his aunt miraculously gave birth, followed by more children after his uncle passed, amidst other significant changes in the family dynamic. Paralleling his earlier advice to Philippe about dealing with Elisa, Philippe suggests that Adama needs discipline and tells Driss he should return to his family instead of dedicating all his time to caring for an old man. The next morning, as Driss prepares to leave, Bastien drops off the usual croissant, sporting a much improved hairstyle. Magali bids Driss farewell, and when he makes another playful attempt to flirt with her, she introduces him to her partner, Fred, short for Frederic, revealing that she's not into men. Driss concedes with good humor. On his way out, he He jokingly confronts Yvonne for tricking him about Magali. She responds by handing him the escort service file he had once started. Disappointed but somewhat nostalgic, Driss tosses the file but decides to keep the photo he had once chosen. Outside, he notices a car blocking the entrance and courteously asks the driver to move it, even though he no longer works there. When Adama teases him for this behavior, Driss simply says it's a matter of principle. Later in the day, Driss and Adama pick their mother up from the train station, beginning a new chapter as a reunited family. Meanwhile, back at Philippe's mansion, he's sharing dinner with his new caretaker, who turns out to be dull and rigid. Disinterested, Philippe leaves the table without even finishing his meal. With Yvonne out on a date with the gardener, there's no one left to reprimand him. In the following days, Driss returns to his old life. He reconnects with his old friends and firmly warns a group of troublemakers to leave Adama alone. While attempting to land a job for which he lacks experience, Driss impresses the employer by highlighting his pragmatic outlook and showcasing the art knowledge he gained during his time with Philippe. His charm lands him a position as a driver. Back in Philippe's home, things are less uplifting. He finds himself increasingly frustrated with his new caretaker and falls into a lingering bad mood. One night, during a bout of phantom pain, Philippe refuses help from anyone in the house, prompting Yvonne to call Driss for assistance. This brings us full circle to the story's opening scene. Driss and Philippe racing through the streets as cops pursue them before ultimately escorting them to the hospital. After this high-speed adventure, Driss takes Philippe to the seaside, where the sight of the ocean soothes Philippe's restless spirit. Not long after, Driss helps trim Philippe's overgrown beard and accompanies him to a restaurant for lunch but doesn't stay. Instead, Philippe is left in anticipation for someone else, a special guest meant to join him. Before leaving, Driss wishes Philippe luck and places the Faberge egg back in his hands. As he departs, Philippe nervously glances around, worried about being alone until he sees his date arrive, Eleanor. Her warm smile reassures him that she is just as captivated by him as ever and unbothered by his wheelchair. In real life, Count Philippe Pozo di Borgo now lives in Morocco with his second wife and 2 daughters. The real man behind Driss's character, Abdul Yasmin Selou, runs his own business and is happily married with 3 children. To this day, the 2 men remain close friends and share a lasting bond. Subscribe to watch more videos like this, leave a comment about your favorite movie, and we will make it next. Thanks for watching.